All right, everybody. It's me, Josh. Let's see. Thought I'd start a couple minutes early just to see if we could get people in here. If you can hear me, just put a 1 in the chat or yes or whatever. Go and cover this up for a minute until we get people on there. Hello, Wendy. Shauna, hello. Frank. Here, I guess I'll take this off. Everybody's here, so. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? All right, so we got 6 people. All right, so sorry, I'm still kind of at work at the moment. Just wanted to start this live a couple minutes early before, so we can get everybody on there. Happy Tuesday, Wendy. Catching up on Jeremy info. Yeah, I've got some good stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and play. Let's get started. We'll do Under Sheriff Canty here, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear this. Thanks, Wendy. Now, I put the link to the GoFundMe, which I'll go ahead and share that again because this is going to cost me quite a bit of money. A lot. All right, if you guys want to help me out with paying for these because it's over $1,000, it's crazy. Reporting for duty. All right, I'm gonna play this and see if you guys can hear it. Can you hear that? Dang it. Sorry, it's the first stream I've ever done, so I don't really know how to share it. Let's see. Don't care about a poll. Manage. Oh, come on now. All right, so I don't have access to that. Customization, live chat, anyone? Bear with me, guys. Maybe if I take my headset off. Let's try this.
Okay. Under Sheriff Canty, are you aware that I'm recording this interview?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened or offered you any preferential treatment to give this statement?
No.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol that may impair your testimony?
No.
Can you raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you
Hi,
swear
Leanne.
upon the testimony you're to provide will be true and correct?
I do.
Okay. So I'm conducting an investigation.
Okay, everybody hear that first part? Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Okay, thanks, Shauna. So, yes, you can hear it. Good. We're going to keep going. This is Under Sheriff Marcus Canty.
And your name was brought to my attention specifically from an email that was sent from Robert Dewitte to Captain Carpenter on November 20th, 2019, in which he implicates that he spoke with you regarding this investigation. And so I just wanted to ask a couple questions regarding what you may know about this investigation.
Okay.
Were you aware of an investigation into Metro State and or Mr. Jeremy Dewitte?
Yes.
Did you give any directives relating to Metro State or Jeremy Dewitte, and who were those directives given to?
Those directives were given to Chief Deputy Zwig and Major Dewitte, and it was that they were to conclude, the two investigators were to conclude their investigation, which means file the charges that they had with the state by the end of, I think sometime mid-December of 2019, I believe. File the charges they had with the state on Mr. Dewitte, and then if the state had any additional taskings, they were allowed to answer those taskings and deal with those taskings.
Was there ever a directive given to not take any further action against Metro State or Mr. Dewitte?
No, they were given actual directive. If the deputies saw law violations, they were obviously prevented to enforce any law violations that they saw.
Okay. But specifically to the investigation, they were to conclude what they were working on?
Right. They had charges that they could file, so they were told to go ahead and file those charges as opposed to trying to work a larger RICO type case.
Okay. What prompted that directive?
I don't recall what prompted, but I think we were spending a lot of time and resources on a case that involved traffic and the possibility of someone impersonating a police officer. So we were spending a large amount of resources, including trying to bring other units and task forces into it to do a RICO investigation, as opposed to like, hey, I have charges on it, file the charges with the state and see where the state takes those charges.
Okay. Did you speak with an associate of Mr. Dewitte, Ms. Jennifer Burton? She came forward and said that she spoke with you in February of 2020. Do you recall speaking with her?
I do recall. I don't remember that specific conversation in February. I had conversations with Ms. Burton initially as it related to her having some allegations against Mr. Dewitte for, I think, sexual battery or something. But that's how I initially met Ms. Burton. But I don't remember the specifics of the February 2020 conversation.
Okay. Did you advise her that of the same directives that have been given to command staff?
Yeah, I would advise her that, hey, Jeremy Dewitte is not our priority. If he has charges, they're going to file the charges that they have, and if he violates the law, they would enforce any laws that they witness him violate.
Okay. Was that a telephone conversation between you and Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there any other? Is there anything else that you know about this investigation you'd like to add?
No.
All right. The current time is 11:46 a.m. and that concludes this.
All right, so that's number one. Who wants to hear Michael Breen? If you want to hear Michael Breen, put a 1 in the chat. If you want to hear Michael Breen, put a 1 in the chat, or a me or whatever. Okay, Michael Breen it is.
I'm Sergeant Justin Wall.
Now I'm going to fast forward this to 4 minutes 50 seconds, where it goes into him calling John Mina, the sheriff. And if you guys don't follow Police Tube, you probably should, because he's got a lot of really good information on this particular case and kind of where it's going. So I'll start at about 4 minutes, 9 seconds. Here we go.
Which he was escorting. And so we became talking friends. And I think we actually used him on one of our rides as well as an escort. And he came to me and told me about the troubles he was.
Hey, real quick, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to donate, here's a link to the GoFundMe. But yeah, here we go.
Was having with Sergeant Vidler, and some of the things that he was saying were so outrageous I half didn't believe him. And then he came over and he brought me a USB stick and with a bunch of videos on it. So I stuck it in the computer and watched some of the videos, and it's like I couldn't believe what I was seeing as a lawyer. So I called John and I told him, or I asked him, would he like to see this stuff because it's pretty bad, and I don't want to see the agency besmirched because of it. And first I think he said, let me find somebody who'll take care of it. So then he put me in touch with, was he a deputy undersheriff or senior staff, and Bobby Anzueto?
Okay.
And he didn't want to talk to me because of an ongoing investigation. So I told John about that, and he said, all right, I'll get back to you. And then next thing you know, I got called by Internal Affairs. I think it was a lieutenant.
Okay.
And he...
Do you remember that lieutenant's name?
I don't, sir.
Okay. Was it the lieutenant over Internal Affairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said, hey, he got word that, I had some information about Vidler. I said, yeah, I did. He's like, okay, would you like to come meet with us? I said, sure. So I asked Jeremy for permission to show the county those videos, and he said yes. He got the email.
Yep. Just for the audio record, you provided me with an email from Wednesday, October 23rd, from Metro State VPU to you, and it says, I, Jeremy Dewitte, give the attorney Michael Brandon the permission to hand over the videos.
That's true.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So I went down there, and it was my intention to let IA know that they need to keep their eyes on this guy because he's acted like way out of bounds, especially after what I saw in the videos. And instead of like a warm reception, they showed me a montage of Jeremy. Well, I knew him as Jay Dewitte, but Jeremy Dewitte's like criminal history and booking photos and reports of rape and all this other stuff. I melted. I was like, at first I thought I was doing something good, and then when they showed me all that stuff, I was just kind of sinking. So I said to them, well, I don't know if you still want to see my stuff. I feel stupid right now that I tried to come, help the sheriff's office, but I see why. Look, I understand a police investigation. I understand criminals. And I know that police like today's victim is tomorrow's complainant, right? So I kind of got the impression that because Jeremy is who he is and his past is his past, and I was not aware of all that stuff.
Okay.
And so maybe I was doing the right thing for the wrong guy. You know what I mean?
Okay. Did you watch any videos with the investigators, or?
Yeah, I did. I showed them. Yeah, actually, I had notes and I had time.
So part of me wonders how much he knew about Jeremy before all of this, and you're going to see he's going to get into this where it's more, Jeremy is the victim, and then I talked to the police, and the police said, oh, it's not that big, he's this terrible criminal, but you've got this crazy person out there in Vidler. Sorry, I'm writing down all the unique videos. You got this crazy sheriff out there named Vidler that's going around and harassing people. So I'll keep playing. We'll talk about it after we're done.
timestamps, and this is Vidler doing this, and this is Vidler doing that.
Okay.
And I had all the videos were broken out into subject matter.
Okay.
And and I went in there with my notes, and I said, okay, here, watch this. Here, watch this. And we all watched it
You
together.
did watch them together.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was on the thumb drive? You said it was broken down by. Do you remember what videos were on there?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I remember three subjects the most.
Okay.
The first one was, if it's true that was Vidler's car, and I think it was like a champagne-colored SUV, and the video was, and allegedly that's Vidler's vehicle. It was shot in Lake County, and allegedly he had his wife in the car as well, because I think Vidler made some noise about it and saying, you did this with, I had my family in my car, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember how I know that, whether it was Jeremy telling me that or I'd seen it or read it or something. But what it showed was Metro State doing a funeral escort. And I think it was one of the cars that he was using in the escort. I think it was the rear car from the escort. And it showed Vidler's car cutting off that escort vehicle and not letting it go back to the funeral procession, like staying in between it. This guy was driving in the left lane over double yellow to keep the...
Like Jeremy never does that. And of course, Jeremy didn't show him any video of himself doing any of that type of stuff.
Escort vehicle from catching up with them. Back and forth, swerving, braking hard to keep him from going, driving like 20 miles an hour in a 45 zone to keep him from getting, would not let him pass him. And and also he ran I saw him run a red light just to keep, this guy from not being able to join the thing. And I think there was audio of the guy saying, hey, this guy won't let me through. This guy's this guy's doing that.
Okay. And so that was, Mr. Dewitte told you that was Vidler's vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was
you don't have any independent,
of course not,
knowledge of that.
But there was some backup. There's some backup documentation. I don't remember what it was, but it was Vidler was complaining that him and his wife were in the car in Lake County, and that the Metro State people were driving like maniacs.
Okay. Do you know from your conversations with Mr. Dewitte if that was ever brought forward to the sheriff's office, or
I don't know.
Was, to your knowledge, is that the only time that you brought it to the attention of?
Okay, I only went one time.
Yeah.
With the USB, and we did watch those videos.
Okay.
And I never had any contact since.
Okay. Was there anything else on the?
Yeah. Then the next one that I remember was Jeremy's got cameras in his office, and they face outward through the windows and into the parking lot area.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a call, and I think it was a disturbance call between Jeremy and his landlord. And I think the landlord called the police because either he wanted to evict him or he was trespassing or something. Anyway, 2 or 3 Orange County motors show up instead of patrol, or maybe in addition to patrol. One of them was Vidler. And you could see Vidler like peeking through the windows. Everybody was outside. The situation was outside, but Vidler's in there. I mean, moving looking through the blinds to try to see everything that was in the office.
Okay.
So that to me is an unlawful search. It's without a warrant, and it's not a public place. I mean, he's sticking his face in there in the windows.
Was that a video or still shots? Or
videos. Yeah.
All right. And then what else? Was there anything else on that?
The third thing was, I don't know how this video got shot, but they had video of Vidler and I think it was Ramsey like hiding in bushes during one of their escorts. And what's funny is they videoed them doing that, but then there was also video I think Vidler took too. Some of it, all that stuff's on the internet, right?
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it was funny because The video I saw was Metro people videoing Vidler staking him out, and then on YouTube you could see Vidler staking him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like doing surveillance.
Surveillance.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So.
Oh, wait. There's more. There was another video which I thought was outrageous. It was when something happened during one of the escorts, and Jeremy called Orlando PD. I think it was the thing where the off-duty deputy got into a tiff with Jeremy on like Mills.
Okay.
And OPD was called. So a whole half a squad of OPD, comes and meets with Jeremy and his people. And then, of course, Vidler shows up. Now, remember, this is a city jurisdiction.
Okay.
And Vidler shows up to a city call being handled by OPD. So one of the guys had either a pepper ball gun on his duty belt. It wasn't Jeremy, it was one of the other guys. And what's his name? Vidler walks right up to the guy. He goes, "What's that?" And the guy goes, "Pepper ball." And he goes, "You're under arrest for carrying a concealed weapon." It was in his holster.
Okay.
100%. And then he handcuffed him. I was like, wow.
Okay.
It's like blatant.
Okay. So those are, and these all were provided by Mr.
Jeremy.
Okay. So I'm familiar with most of what you're talking about. So, what happened at the conclusion? You said that of your meeting with internal affairs.
Okay. So after they showed me what they showed me, like I said, I wasn't as motivated to show them what I brought, but they were patient and they went through it with me and they watched everything. And then they asked me, I think they said, like, "Are you making a complaint?" I said, "Absolutely not. I'm just here to tell you what's going on so you guys can be aware and do what you got to do, because this guy could be a liability."
Okay. And so did you take the thumb drive with you?
No, they asked me, "Do you want it back?" I said, "I don't need it." So I left it with them.
Okay. So you were never, your intention was never to bring forth the complaint.
No.
Just your intention was to make the Orange County Sheriff's Office aware of what you had seen.
Correct.
On behalf of Mr. Dewitte.
Well, let's not go that far.
Okay.
I got the information from Jeremy Dewitte, but I never represented it. I've never represented him,
Okay.
and I did not do this on behalf of him.
Okay.
I just saw him, as a victim. Like I told you, I got snowed, but I saw him as a victim, and I thought that the sheriff's department ought to be aware that this guy's got a good case. If he were to find a lawyer or something, he's got a really good case.
Okay. So then you said, "I don't want you back," and you withdrew.
I just left.
Withdrew your.
I didn't give anything or withdraw anything. I just brought it.
Okay.
Because remember, I said they asked me, did I want to make
Okay.
a complaint? I told them absolutely not.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the thumb drive or any of the contents around it?
I don't.
Did you speak with anyone else at the sheriff's office regarding what you brought forward?
There was the lieutenant, and I believe either two investigators or one was a sergeant and one was an investigator. Those are the only people I spoke to.
Okay, so in the room during this, who was in? You said it was a lieutenant.
And two black males, investigators.
Okay.
One was new.
Okay. Anybody else outside of that? Did you bring it to anyone else's attention after that?
Such as?
And anybody else at the sheriff's office? Okay.
Nope.
What did you tell Miss Burton regarding the complaint or what that interaction?
I don't recall speaking to her about it.
Okay. Did you talk to Mr. Dewitte about that? About what happened?
You know what? I didn't. They asked me not to.
Okay. Who asked you not to?
Well, the IA investigators, when they showed me all that stuff, they asked me not to say anything. So I didn't. In other words, they didn't want me to tell Jeremy that I went there and saw that he's this heinous criminal, and or give him any feedback about it. So I didn't.
What? So did you ever talk to Mr. Dewitte after that?
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably would have.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he asked me how did it go, and I said, "Well, Jeremy, I don't think they're much interested." That's all I said.
Okay. And that was it?
Pretty much.
Okay. Okay. Does that conclude your involvement with
That aspect.
that
Yeah.
aspect of things?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, what am I going to do? Once I found out what I found out.
Okay. And you just told them they're not interested in
I just said I think you got to have an uphill battle here. I don't see that they're very interested.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else that you know about this investigation you'd like to add?
No, of course.
Okay. The current time is 2:49 p.m. and that concludes this interview.
So what I want to know is why didn't they ask him about whether or not he's involved with Jeremy's ambulance company? Because I'm pretty sure he's involved. Now, here's a list of people that I have recordings for. I'm still going through verifying if these are actually unheard. I got 33 total, and I would say half of them at least are already released. But I got Captain Sandy Carpenter, Chief Deputy Larry Zweig. Purposely omitted. Sorry. Yes, David, purposely omitted, right? Chief Deputy Larry Zweig, Colin Moore, Deputy Sean Sahibi, Jonathan Reeves, Lieutenant Wacker, can't make that up, Lieutenant Wacker, Lieutenant McCullough, Lieutenant Olson, Major Hosey, Major Enzueto, Michael Breen, you just heard, Robert Stevens, Jessica Suarez Vargas, Sergeant Ellis Mitchell, Stephen Foster, and Undersheriff Canty, which we heard first. Yeah, Ron, he is. Definitely. Any of those you guys want to hear while we're on this live here? If it gets into anything that reveals too much, I might have to delete after the live and go back and redact them. But I just, I want to at least give you guys a first glimpse. Shauna, she wants to hear every one of them. All right, hold on. We'll play them all. Just kidding. So Enzueto was the one he spoke to. So let's go to Enzueto. Here we go. See how long this one is. 11 minutes. Okay, let's do Enzueto.
I'm Sergeant Justin Wall of the Orange County Sheriff's Office Professional Standards Section. Today's date is May 20th, 2021, and the current time is 12:55 p.m. This interview is being conducted at the Orange County Courthouse, located at
425 North Orange.
Thank you, 425 North Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida. I'm interviewing. Can you state your rank and name for me?
Major Robert Enzueto.
Also present in the room is Corporal Willie Robinson of the Professional Standards Section. Major Enzueto, are you aware that I'm recording this interview?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened, coerced, or offered you any preferential treatment to give this statement?
No, sir.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol that may impair your testimony?
No, sir.
Can you raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're to provide will be true and correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, as we discussed briefly, I'm conducting an investigation into some allegations that were brought forth by Mr. Jeremy Dewitte in conducting an investigation into the actions of Sergeant Keith Vidler and Corporal Ramsey in regard to some of the allegations that were brought forward. And your name has come up as being part of the overall investigation. So I just wanted to ask some questions about what you may know about this.
Sure.
Were you previously assigned to the Special Operations Division?
Yes, I was.
And you were as the major, correct?
Correct.
Hit that like button real quick, folks. Hit it, hit it, hit it. If you haven't hit it already, hit it.
How long or what were the dates that you were assigned there?
It's going to be February 1st, 2019 is when I was first hired here and assigned to SOD, and continued in that role until October, I think it was 4th of 2020.
Okay. So you left about 6 months ago, 7 months ago?
Yes.
Okay. So during that time, it's come to my attention that there was an investigation that was being conducted by specifically Sergeant Miller and Corporal Ramsey and the Motors Unit in general against Metro State. So at your level, were there any directives regarding, or did you give any directives regarding Metro State?
There was a lot of directives given in a sense of what was done at that certain time. I can tell you that this case was brought to my attention numerous times when I was the major over SOD. And there was a time in the fall of 2019 where Sergeant Vidler and Corporal Ramsey received videotapes of certain cases, and they were reviewing those cases, and they were looking at charges for those cases. There came a time where this name kept on coming up, and I gave a directive saying, look, you have until a certain amount of time to get whatever cases you need to get and submitted to the state attorney's office, because it just seemed like one case after another kept on coming up. And when they did come up, whether negative or positive.
It's what happens when you keep committing crimes. The cases keep coming up and you keep getting arrested. Now, I'm going to release the bond hearing part 2, and I have the clip of the judge that says, can you believe it? In fact, I'll play that here in a minute, but keep going.
Viewing the Orange County Sheriff's Office, it kept on coming up with our agency and Jeremy Dewitte. So there was an email that I wrote to Captain Carpenter in November, if I'm referring to my email here, November 20th, 2019. It was addressed to Captain Carpenter from me. The subject line was active case. And I told Captain Carpenter I had discussed this with the undersheriff and Chief Deputy Zwig about this case. And I gave him a direct order saying, look, whatever cases that we have, we need to finish up and be done with those cases. No more going after him for any more cases pertaining to those videos, because it seemed like there was 3 cases, and there was 5 cases, and then there was 11 cases. I'm like, when is this going to stop? How many cases are you going to bring forward? Get what you need to do and be done with this. And it ended up being that we gave him till the end of December to submit any cases that he had to the state attorney's office. And I said, and I did say, look, we're not going to turn a blind eye if, this guy comes and breaks the law directly in front of you. We have an obligation to do what we need to do to uphold the law. But we're not going to actively seek out and surveil him and try to catch him dirty. If something happened in your on view, then do what you have to do. But we're not going to waste any more time actively looking to.
The actual order was anything that is not a capital crime, don't arrest.
Bring charges forth against Jeremy Dewitte.
Okay, and that directive was given to Captain Carpenter?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did you ever speak with Sergeant Vidler directly, or was this more passed down through the chain of command?
We had numerous meetings. I can't recall exactly what was verbatim said in these meetings, but I know there was a meeting in my office with Corporal Ramsey, Sergeant Vidler, Captain Carpenter, and myself, and I think Chief Deputy Zwig attended that as well. And then there was a phone conversation when we were on conference call, and my directive was, look, stop what you're, stop actively pursuing what you have is what you have, finish it and submit it. And that was my directive at that point.
And that was around the same time as this email?
Yes, it was.
November 20th, 2019.
And I think it was reiterated in December as well.
Okay. Is that about when that same meeting that you're referring to
Yes.
with Sergeant Vidler? Is that
Yes.
around the same time that occurred?
Yes.
Okay. Did you originally give a directive to conduct this investigation, or when you first got to the unit, was it already going on prior to?
I know that when I first came to the unit, or soon after, this case was brought to my attention. And I asked Keith Vidler to give me an overview via memo of, what this guy is doing, what Jeremy Dewitte's doing, the
Uh-oh. It's loading. What do you guys think so far? See, I'm just busting my favorite bullet. Oh man, it's Real Light TV. What's up, man? Glad to have you here. Sorry the stuff is loading up. Handle situation and embolden him to point where he felt he's untouchable. Yeah, right. Now, guys, if you can, donate to the GoFundMe, $5, $10, $20. I don't care. $1, whatever helps, because these are expensive. So if you guys want to help, great. If not, please subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, or channel. All right, hold on. Let's try it again. There we go.
Florida statutes that he was violating. And so Keith did provide me a memo, and this was September 23rd, 2019. And I told him he was fine with working this case.
Okay. That was in September? And
Yes.
you
Yes, sir.
have that memo to provide to me just for the audio
Yes, I do.
recording? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you can make a copy of this for me as well
Sure,
as
absolutely.
this email you have
Yes.
to Captain Carpenter. Okay. So I know you already kind of addressed it, but I just want to be clear. Did you give any directives to stop enforcing violations of law by Metro State or Jeremy Dewitte?
I want to make sure I'm crystal clear on this. Sergeant Vidler presented numerous cases, and I was under the impression that there was a handful of cases, then the cases went to 5, and then went to double digits. And at that point, when they kept on piling these cases, I said, we're done. I don't want to go after any more cases. What you have is what you have.
Okay, so he did say stop pulling them over. No more cases. So he can keep committing crimes with impunity.
I don't want you to go through, 100 hours of video that was obtained either by search warrant or from Windermere PD from a previous case. What you have is what you have. Finish those cases out and submit them to the state attorney's office. I said, we're done going with more cases. But I didn't say if Jeremy Dewitte blows by you on his motorcycle, busting a red light, doing, an escort, to just turn the other way. we're not going to turn a blind eye to someone committing a crime in our presence. So it's kind of like a twofold directive. The directive of stop going after him with more and more cases. Yes, I did give that directive, and that was crystal clear in that email that I sent in November.
Right.
But I did not give him a directive of completely stop and turn a blind eye if he commits a crime in your presence.
Okay. And I know that you said you had a meeting with the undersheriff and Chief Deputy Zweig. Did that directive, was that given to you by somebody higher than you, or was that something that you had?
I'm sorry, I was referring to some notes. Can you repeat the
Wallahi, I didn't order it.
question?
So was that a directive that was given to you from the undersheriff or somebody above you, or was that your decision to conclude that?
No, that was discussions with Chief Deputy Zweig that we were done with those cases. And I know that there was discussions with the undersheriff. When I say meeting with the undersheriff, it was just going back with the Chief Deputy Zweig and the undersheriff in discussions about this case.
Okay. When you first got to the motors unit, was there
SOD? You mean?
I'm sorry. When Special Operations Division, and was there any suggestion about the motors unit working more investigations, not specifically to this, but working investigations into street racer details or the individuals that would come to Orange County a couple years ago, and they would shut down roadways on
like the ATVs and motorcycles. Yes,
was there a discussion about the motors unit working investigations into things like that?
I don't know if it was necessarily investigations, but it was working these details.
Okay.
But I don't remember specifically of assigning somebody to say, I want you to go undercover or work, the inside track of these organizations. I don't ever remember saying that, but I remember giving directives. We will be involved in some of these details.
Okay. As the motor unit would be.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that you know about this investigation you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. The current time is 1:07 p.m. and that concludes the interview.
All right, so for those of you just joining us, we have done Under Sheriff Canty and Michael Breen. We just did, who is that? That was Major Enzueto, Robert Enzueto. Don't know. I've got Chief Deputy Larry Zweig that I think we should do next because I just talked about him. What do you guys think? Everybody does love Gia. We're only human. We can't help ourselves. You want to hear from Whacker? Is it because of name? All right. Who wants to hear Whacker and who wants to hear Zweig? Put it down in the comments below. We'll do this democratically. Yeah, Jeremy was not a Green Beret officer. All right. Gia wants to hear Whacker. David seconds it. And I think we're all about the Whacker, huh? John Claude, what's up, man? John Claude Van Damme. The one and only French Connection. Whacker it is. I don't know if that's meant for me, John Claude, but I'm good, man. Need 7. All right. GoFundMe in the link if you guys want to help pay for all this stuff I'm doing that I basically purchasing. Well, I'm purchased. All right. Lieutenant Calvin Whacker. Boy. What a name. This one's 43 minutes long. Don't know if I'm able to keep all of it on. I'm probably going to schedule another live here in the next, I don't know, couple days, just so I can kind of go through this. I might have to delete this live depending on what type of sensitive information is released. So just bear with me, folks, okay? And it's the whacker.
I'm Sergeant Justin Wall of the Orange County Sheriff's Office Professional Standards Section. Today's date is May 10th, 2021, and the current time is 10:54 a.m. This interview is being conducted at the Office of Professional Standards located at 2500 West Colonial Drive. I'm interviewing. Can you state your rank and name for me?
Lieutenant Calvin Wacker.
Okay. Lieutenant Wacker, are you aware that I'm recording this interview?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone threatened, coerced, or offered you any preferential treatment to give this statement?
No, sir.
Are you under the influence of drugs?
Real quick, how's the audio, folks? Gia, can you hear the audio good? Because you said audio breaks. Just want to make sure. He did say whacker. I said whacker. You just said whacker too. Gia, you good? Oh, Gia. Shauna, thank you, Shauna.
Was your alcohol may impair your testimony?
No, sir.
Raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you provide will be true and correct?
I do.
All right. So as we briefly discussed, I'm conducting an investigation into an administrative investigation into Sergeant Bidler and Corporal Ramsey in regards to their conduct with Mr. Jeremy Dewitte. First off, what's your current rank and your responsibilities?
I'm the lieutenant of the motors unit.
And were those your responsibilities on March 23rd, 2021?
Yes, sir.
Were you aware that Sergeant Bidler had made an arrest on Mr. Dewitte on March 23rd?
Yes, sir. He called me.
Were you present for the arrest?
No, sir.
All right. Were you present at the office later on when Mr. Dewitte was brought back to the Second Force Substation?
No, sir.
How did you become aware? You said he called you.
He called me. Standard operating procedure with Metro State has been since day one. Called the captain. Captain put it upstairs, and then it came back down. So I called acting captain Crabb. Said that Vidler had arrested him on I-4. Crabb asked me to have Vidler write him an email so he could forward it up to the major, I believe. And I called Vidler back. I said, when you get a chance, send me an email that states the PC and all that other stuff. I went over to Harley Davidson and talked to Rob, the mechanic over there. Some time passed. I never got the email. So I called Vidler. I said, where is the email? He said, I'm with Crabb. And I said, okay, well then don't worry about it. And that's kind of the end of mine. I went to lunch with Rob Crane and Yuri Melich right after that. And everything else that happened, I found out about the next day, I guess, for the most part.
So when did you first become aware about the arrest? Did Sergeant Bidler call you?
He called me.
Did he call you on the traffic stop or after?
He just called me and said, I've just arrested Jeremy Dewitte.
Okay.
I think that was his words, but yeah.
Okay. Did you get the impression he was still on the traffic stop?
Yes.
Okay. So what did he tell you the charges were?
I don't know that I asked. Oh, he said carrying concealed weapon.
Okay. Did he kind of describe you the circumstances or his PC?
No, he just told me. I said, are you alone up there? Or he said, no, Reeves is with me.
Okay. So he didn't go into
No, sir.
here's
No.
He said carrying concealed weapon, but he didn't tell you his actual circumstances behind how he reached that.
If he did, it was brief, but I don't remember that conversation if we had it. He just said he may have told me he was, and I may have learned this afterwards too, that he was going up I-4. He saw two Metro State bikes. He looked at the one and he saw what appeared to be a handgun in the holster, and he stopped.
Okay. So were you aware at that time to him on the traffic stop that the weapon he was referring to was a pepper ball gun?
No, sir.
But you knew it wasn't a firearm, right? He said carrying concealed weapon specifically. It wasn't carrying concealed firearm charge, right?
I remember him saying carrying concealed weapon. As has been standard operating procedure, I said, well, I got to run it up because it's Dewitte. So I think I disconnected and I called Crab and told him.
Okay. So do you believe there's probable cause based on what Sergeant Vidler told you?
During the traffic stop?
Probable cause
Now
for the
or
arrest?
when?
At the time of the traffic stop when he first explained to you what was going on.
I didn't question him about the probable cause.
Okay. He just told you I have PC for,
He said I arrested him for carrying a concealed weapon.
okay. So you said after that you went to lunch. Did you ever go back to the Sector 4 substation when they were conducting an interview?
No. I don't think I found out about the interview until the following morning when we were doing the funeral escort.
Okay.
Because I didn't talk to, the only conversation I had after that was that I think Crab called me in the afternoon and said, hey, you're having Vidler on arrest. And I said, oh, okay. And then that following morning I found out that they called back supposedly. So what I'm getting from Crab, that they said, don't worry about unarresting him, he's bonding out. And then I found out the next morning he was still in jail because OCSO, I guess, put a hold on him or something like that. So that's,
Okay.
but the interview and stuff, I didn't know that was conducted until the following morning.
Okay. So as Sergeant Vidler's supervisor, did you question him further as to anything about the probable cause for the arrest, or you just took his word for it?
No, I took his word for it, and when he told me that he was with Crab at the office, I assumed that Dewitte was in jail. He was doing his paperwork at the office, and that he had briefed him in face to face.
Okay. So did you have any part in reviewing any statutes, case law, jury instructions, anything before Mr. Dewitte was booked into jail?
No.
With Mr. Vidler, or Sergeant Vidler, or
No.
Rick Crabb, or anybody?
No.
Okay. Did you ever see the pepper ball gun, physically see it?
That'd be a picture.
Okay. But not the actual gun?
That would have been a few days later, too.
Okay. So seeing the pepper ball gun in the holster, a picture of it, do you believe that meets the definition of a concealed weapon?
I believe later on, I was shown the jury instructions on a concealed weapon. And then you also have to realize that Dewitte's a convicted felon. So, I mean, I'd have to go into it deeper, but yeah, because here's how we used to differentiate between Dewitte and their weapons. All his weapons used to have a CO2 cartridge, silver one, it stuck out of the butt plate up here, and this one did not. I don't know what kind of projectiles this one fired or anything like that, because like I said, I didn't see the weapon itself.
Okay.
I was just told it was a pepper ball gun.
Okay. But do you believe, you said afterwards, you said you reviewed the jury instructions?
I think Keith showed them to me when there started to be some questions. It might have been during the funeral when we were waiting.
So the day
And he
after?
said, these are the jury instructions. Yeah. And I read them, and yeah, it kind of fits into the jury instructions as to what a concealed firearm is. Because you have no way of differentiating between what's in that holster. To me, it looks like open carry, because it could be an open carry weapon, and that may have been a better charge. I don't know. But, you know, the weapon's concealed, and you don't know it's a pepper ball gun until, you know. I'll tell you what, if you pulled it on me, I'd shoot.
Yeah, and I don't know that.
There's no way to differentiate between that firearm and a real firearm.
Okay. So that was kind of what you discussed about the concealed part of it.
We never.
Can you? I guess.
We really
my
never
question
discussed it. I think because Sergeant Vidler was being questioned about PC and told him to unarrest. I think that's how we got in a conversation, and I
This
think
was
it
the
was
following day.
following day or maybe the day after. Yeah, it wasn't the day of.
Okay.
Like I said, other than the call from Crab saying they just ordered us to unarrest him. That was all. That's the only thing that I had to do with any of it after initially calling Crab and telling Keith.
But my question is, like, here's a firearm in a holster, right? Yep. Is this concealed?
For the jury instructions, yeah.
Based on what?
Have you read the jury instructions? It says that.
I have them.
Well, it basically says there's something in there that basically says that the weapon does not have to be totally concealed to be a concealed weapon, which means if you've got it under your coat and someone sees it, that's technically concealed. I think it's this big one.
I think it's this paragraph here. Ordinary sight. Yeah.
The term ordinary sight of another person means that casual or ordinary observation of another not be completely hidden for you to find that it was concealed.
Well, how about the next sentence?
However, a weapon is not concealed if, although not fully exposed, its status as a weapon is detectable as an ordinary observation. However, a weapon is not concealed if, although not fully exposed, its status as a weapon is detectable by ordinary observation. Okay, so I'm a civilian on the street. Maybe open carry would be a better term, but you cannot distinguish that between whether it's firearm or not.
Okay. And I'm just trying to understand, what the discussion was.
Like I said, there was no discussion between me or anybody else after the fact. I was just, I got the information from him that he arrested him for concealed weapon. Standard operating procedure from day one on this case was anything that happens goes to the captain goes to the major. Where it went from there, I don't know. Okay. And then a decision would come back down. This one came a little late.
Okay. And so, just to be clear, before Mr. Dewitte booked into jail, you didn't review these jury instructions?
No.
This was all after?
No. I took Sergeant Vidler's on his word that he was carrying a concealed weapon. Never really questioned it other than it was the gun, maybe. But DeWitte's people have been known to carry regular firearms because I think way back in the beginning, one of them was arrested for carrying it. Although he had a license as a security person to carry it, DeWitte doesn't have the license to allow him to carry it. So he was arrested for that. That was one. I actually think that was probably the first time that we got. I say we. Vidler and them got re-involved in it.
Okay. So are you aware of an email sent from General Counsel Austin Moore to Sergeant Vidler in May of 2019 advising that there was nothing illegal about Metro State?
I have Austin Moore's interviews too. I know Police Tube already has them up, so I assume everybody here is subscribed to Police Tube. And Fraudy, if you're not, go do that for me. I'd really appreciate it.
State employees openly carrying pepperball guns.
I'd have to go through all the emails I saved, but I don't recall that off the top of my head.
Okay. Were you aware that during the arrest of Mr. Dewitte and during Corporal Ramsey's subsequent interview, Mr. Dewitte had asserted that he had this email, obviously contradicted the charges against him?
I'm going to be honest with you. There wasn't a lot of emails during this entire investigation. When I would ask for an email from my captain, I would basically be told, that's public record. It's going to be public record if we do that. We can't do it in emails. So there wasn't a lot. I think I kind of went through, I can go get my computer if you want, but I saved everything that was DeWitte related. Most of it's between Ramsey and all that, and it's just, when they're going to do this, when they're going to do that.
Okay.
There is one from Austin Moore in there, but I didn't read it.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is, but I can go get the computer and you can look at it if you want.
And probably after the interview, you can take a look and see if there's anything that you find relevant.
Right.
But specifically, there is an email from Austin Moore to Sergeant Bittler advising that there's nothing illegal about Metro State openly carrying peppermint guns. So you weren't aware of that email?
Not that I'm aware of. If I got it, I'll look. I'll put it that way. But like I said, there wasn't a lot of email. But let me explain something.
Yeah.
This investigation started. Sandy Carpenter was going
JB!
direct to Ramsey, direct to Bittler, and I wasn't really in the loop. They would have meetings with Anzueto, Zwig, and all of that, and I would ask Ramsey and Bittler what was said in the meeting. Basically, those were meetings giving them deadlines on their investigation. This is the initial investigation they started, giving them deadlines, and all I would do was make sure that they hit the deadline. As far as the only meeting that I can remember having was with Anzueto.
Just want to stop and say hi to JB. JB, what's up, man? Glad to have you here. Gia, of course, you're always one of my favorites. Hopefully Marion Headland and I can't forget the other lady's name. Anyways, you guys are all wonderful. Here we go.
And I couldn't tell you the date. It was the day that Bittler was going up to get some arrest warrants signed, and there was a question about a search warrant. Because Bittler had written 2 search warrants, one for Dewitte's house and one for the business. I was told that the attorney, Austin, told him there was no precedence for the search warrant, and he didn't see a precedent for him. And then he kind of, I think he went in and kind of said, this, that, and the other about the search warrant. I know Bittler rewrote the search warrant with his suggestions and had them. I came in one morning, Bittler and Ramsey were in their office working on the case. There was a conversation between Austin Moore and Keith, and I think they were talking about the arrest affidavits that he was going to get signed. I don't know if these were the first ones, second ones, third ones, fourth ones. I don't know. I think it might have been the first 2 that they were going to arrest, but I'm not positive. I listened to part of that conversation, and when Bittler brought up the search warrant, which he had written for the business on South Orange Blossom Trail, Austin didn't say, don't get it signed. And he didn't say, don't serve it at that time. He says, I just don't see precedent. And that's the way I took it.
I love Wendy Markham too, and Smoothie Q, and all the rest of you. John Claude, you guys are all great. So if I forget your name, I'm sorry.
When Bittler went down to get those signed, I said, get them signed and get the search warrant signed. Then I got called over here to talk to Anzueto about it. And I told him they were on their way down to get it signed. And I told him that he was going to get that one search warrant signed. And Anzueto got a little upset, saying that Austin told him not to get any of the search warrants signed. And I said, we won't serve a search warrant without your permission. But you had me put Dewitte's picture in all of these cubbies coming into the building because he had threatened it during the investigation. Supposedly it had come out that he was going to, before you go back to jail, he was going to shoot up either the Orange County Sheriff's Office building or the Orlando Police Department. I said, you had me put them all up. If he barricades when they go to...
Now that's what Jennifer Burton told, I think Ramsey. She told somebody in the police department that Jeremy had threatened to do that.
To arrest him in that building. I said, my old SWAT background tells me they ain't going in without a search warrant. So I told him to get it signed. It won't be served unless you give us permission. And that's where that was left. And they got those signed and all that. But that's might have been off point of the.
That was a conversation with Anzueto?
Yes, sir.
And he gave you permission to serve him?
He did not. I just told him we will ask permission if we need to serve him or we think we need to. And we eventually served it like 2 or 3 days later.
Okay. All right. That was one of my questions. Is some part of the investigation, but I want to go back to the traffic stop real quick. So, were you ever made aware that during Mr. DeWitte's arrest that and the interview with Corporal Ramsey, that Mr. DeWitte had said, "I have this email from General Counsel Austin Moore"?
No.
Had you been made aware that Mr. Mr. Dewitte says, I have this email saying I can carry a pepper ball gun from your legal. Would you have done anything differently? Would you have intervened?
I always thought it was the state attorney's job to intervene, not staff attorneys, but not taking that away. DeWitte is known to, I'll tell you how DeWitte works, is if I stop him for a traffic violation, he'll tell me that Trooper so-and-so told him, he gets names all the time, said he could do this. And if Trooper so-and-so stops him, then he'll say Lieutenant Wacker said I do it. So I would take, unless he had it there to produce it right now, I would take it as a grain of salt.
Okay. Were you ever made aware that Mr. Dewitte had made multiple requests on the traffic stop and during the interview with Corporal Ramsey to speak with a lieutenant or captain? He asked 17 times on the traffic stop alone to speak with a lieutenant or captain.
I never knew that.
Okay.
I know it now because someone told me that he asked for me a bunch of times, but as soon as this kind of got cracking, I didn't even go and look at the body camera or none of the videos. I figured it'd be locked up by then anyway.
Okay, so given the circumstances surrounding the history between Sergeant Bidler and Corporal Ramsey and Mr. Dewitte, do you believe that's something you should have been made aware of? Hey, he's asking for you.
Yeah, probably.
So if you had known about his request, would you have met with him?
I don't know that I'd have gone up onto I-4. But I don't know where they were. My biggest concern at that point was that Bidler wasn't alone with him, that Reeves was with him. And that's what I was told. So.
Okay. Did you ever speak with Mr. Dewitte?
I spoke with Mr. Dewitte a day or two after when he wanted his property released. He left a message on my phone, and actually, I talked to him just prior to coming down here. Major Hosey wanted to meet with me and Rams. So I called him back, and of course he told me, this has been recordings by office. I found out later that he was in a car wash on his telephone, but he records everything. He says, I want to get my property back. I said, it's been released, because I had told Biddle that morning, if it ain't released, release it, because we were arresting him. And I told him it was released. He asked me about the motorcycle. I said, well, go down there, and if it's going to cost, he said, who's paying for it? I said, go down there, and if they don't give it back to you without pay, contact the sheriff's office and work that out with them. Instead of doing that, he came down here to the bubble and demanded to see, I don't know who he demanded to see, a whole bunch of people. I know that because I was sitting in Hosey's office when I got the phone call that he was in there. Yeah, and I'd have to say between that time frame, he probably didn't go to see if he could get his motorcycle back. He just came down here to
But, so you never spoke, you only spoken with him after the arrest?
I spoke to him on the phone to get his property.
Right.
He had called and left a message.
At the time of his arrest, though?
No, I never talked to him that day. I'll be honest, I count on one hand how many times I've talked to Mr. Dewitte.
Okay.
Probably twice.
Do you know if any lieutenants or captains spoke with Mr. Dewitte that day?
I have no idea.
Okay. Did you review the body-worn camera at the traffic stop?
I did not.
You said you were not present for the subsequent interview by Corporal Ramsey. Did you watch that interview on the body-worn camera? I'm sorry.
I saw part of it. I'll put it that way. I saw part of it. I think one of the guys was watching it one morning because I think that's on some website, and he was watching it. But I got better things to do than watch 200 interviews with.
Okay. In the portion that you saw, did you see anything that concerned you?
No, it was kind of the beginning of it, I think.
All right. Other than what you've already discussed, what is your knowledge of the investigation with Sergeant Bidler and Corporal Ramsey that they're working against Mr. Dewitte and Metro State?
You mean
I know you kind of went over
as far as
how much knowledge do you have of the investigation?
Of the charges that they brought against him and all that, or which one are you talking about?
The whole investigation.
Well, I was there from day one.
Okay.
But like I said, it was kind of between the captain, Ramsey, and Vidler.
Okay.
They would have meetings, and if there was a meeting above the captain, I never got invited to those.
Okay.
I can't recall one that I was at. I would get called into the captain's office every once in a while, to, I don't know, it was more to, I don't want to say chew me out, but to make sure that Biddler, and I got to be honest, I told Captain Carpenter at one point, I said, I'm taking direction from a sergeant and a corporal because I am not privy to any of these meetings with anybody. It's you and them. And you get a little upset. And
ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome the illustrious Police Tube channel. Like I said before, please like, share, comment, and subscribe on all his stuff too. He's got a lot of good stuff going on with this investigation. I'll be sharing some files with him too, so you'll be able to catch it over there as well. Anyways, let's keep going. This is Lieutenant Calvin Wacker. We're about halfway through.
he wrote me up, gave me counseling for him for some other stuff after that. But yeah.
So, are you aware of Sergeant Biddler contacting insurance companies regarding Mr. Dewitte's personal or business insurance policy?
I think that was mentioned that they were, because during the initial investigation, he had no insurance on the vehicles, or it was somebody else's insurance. I don't know, but I think that was mentioned.
We all said Wacker.
With,
Mentioned in what context?
that the insurance companies were looking at him for having either, he's running a business, but I think he had personal insurance. I don't know.
Okay, so were you aware that Sergeant
I
Biddler was
didn't
the
know
one
how that.
contacting?
I didn't know that. No, I mean I knew that there was insurance companies were involved.
Okay.
IRS was involved. I mean, in the beginning, this was going to go RICO. This whole case.
Okay. Specifically with the insurance companies, is that common practice? Or been in the motor unit for how long?
Well, I don't know if it's common practice. In what aspect? I mean, if you mean I stop
Pull
somebody
over for not having insurance.
I write them a ticket and they go prove that they have insurance to get the ticket taken away, or they take it to court and prove it in front of a judge.
Okay. Would you ever say it's common practice to call the insurance company and have a conversation?
I don't know
with the
that.
insurance companies?
I don't know that this investigation would be called common practice for the motor unit.
Okay.
I think it was just kind of because it was traffic. It got
Okay. Are you aware of Sergeant Biddler contacting private businesses that are clients of Mr. DeWitte's company? So Mr. DeWitte has a funeral escort service.
I believe they were during the investigation. I think they were contacting some of the funeral homes or the people that were hiring him to try and get receipts and stuff to show whatever that was to show. But I think they contacted some of the funeral homes.
Okay. So you believe that was part of the investigation?
I know it was.
And are you aware of Sergeant Biddler communicating to those companies about Mr. DeWitte's transgressions? So
No, sir.
disseminating his criminal information?
No, sir.
So as a manager, if you became aware of a deputy or any subordinate sergeant, anybody telling private businesses about the transgressions of the character of one of their
I believe that was done. I believe that was
appropriate.
I believe that was done in this office
Okay.
by your lieutenant to Counselor Breen when he came down to make a complaint on. As it was told to me, the complaint was going to go away because they were going to tell basically the attorney looking for a word, what his bad guy was, or bad. And I said, how you doing that? I said, you can't show them that. They said they were just going to explain to them his character, and that was because
How did you become aware of that? What conversation?
Well, I got a complaint, I believe, or I got a call from either Anzueto or from the carpenter that there was a complaint coming down from attorney, I think it's Breen, and I might have talked to Anzueto on the phone, and
In case you're just joining us, we did already listen to the Michael Breen interview, and Michael Breen. We did Under-Sheriff Canty and Major Anzueto, whatever. And now we're on Lieutenant Calvin Wacker. There you go, I said it.
I said, what's the deal or whatever, and he said, hey, we're gonna take care of it. We're gonna have. I think the lieutenant down here sat down with him when he came. The way it was explained to me, like I said, it was told to me was they were going to explain to him that his client wasn't the greatest person in the world, and that and the ending of that was I was told Bream said I was just asked to drop it off. I'm not making a complaint. He walked out.
Okay.
And that's a video of something that happened up in Lake County or something.
Okay. And that was a complaint that
It has
was brought
nothing to do with this as far as I can, yeah.
But so as far as Sergeant Fiddler going to these businesses and speaking to the character of somebody that they do business with, do you feel that that's appropriate?
I don't know that he did that.
Okay. Well, if he did do it, if there's an accusation that he did do it, do you feel that that's appropriate
I
for a
wouldn't.
deputy?
No, I wouldn't say that it's appropriate.
Okay. In other words, if it was done with the intention of disrupting
His business.
Mr. Dewitte's business, would that be appropriate?
Well, I
Real quick, guys, I'm going to play what the judge says. And is this it? No. Hold, please. Is that it?
It is. Yes, we were given very clear and direct instructions to have no involvement with Mr. Dewitte unless he was committing a capital felony, and then we would take action.
I don't know if you guys heard that, but it says that's very weird. That's very weird. The judge.
I don't see a problem with telling these people that what he's doing is a violation of almost every traffic statute in the state of Florida, and that he's not, licensed, bonded, or whatever. I don't see a problem with that. I think you're looking out.
Real quick to clarify, I will only delete it if I hear something I need to redact. So that would be the only reason, but I'm going to make these available to PT anyway. So don't worry about it, PT. I got you.
For the business than you are, Mr. Dewitte and
So if it's specific to the traffic,
yeah, that what he's doing is not, running red lights, stopping people. He's violating traffic statutes. I don't see that that's a problem.
okay. What about if he's passing on information that Mr. Dewitte had raped somebody and in the past and things like that?
Oh, I don't know that he did that, but I don't think a deputy can talk about anybody's criminal history, can they? I don't know. I don't see a problem with telling somebody, yeah, he's a convicted felon.
From your discussions with and I know you said they were brief and they mostly occurred after the arrest, specific to the March 23rd incident. But did Sergeant Fiddler or Corporal Ramsey make any statements regarding their history with Mr. Dewitte and how that may have impacted or influenced their decision to make a physical arrest on that day?
There was a conversation in the major's office a few days later with Ramsey and me. And I took that conversation to be the major warning Ramsey to stay away from Witt and Metro State. And when the major was talking about this, Ramsey looked at me and goes, well, I interviewed him. And I thought the major was a little put back by that. He didn't know that. Yeah, whether he did or not, I don't know. What was his question?
Well, did either of them make any statements that their history with Mr. Dewitte had impacted their decision to make an arrest? Basically,
Oh, I know where I was getting with that. In that conversation, Ramsey made a statement to Major Hosey that they had been told by Austin, and now I'm taking this from what I heard him tell the Major, had been told by Austin that if they saw Metro State going down the road with their gun belts on with what appeared to be a gun in their holster, they had probable cause to stop them. And Ramsey even went on to say, I question that, just that stop. And Ramsey said that they were told by Austin that they had probable cause to stop them if they looked like they were carrying a firearm. And that statement was made.
Okay, so Ramsey made the statement that Austin Moore told him he could stop them
If they saw them, if you saw them on the road and it looked like they were carrying firearms, which they ought to do. So that was made to Major Hosey. And
so you can stop them.
Hey guys, if you can donate to the GoFundMe to help pay for these recordings. Gia's already donated a while ago, and Leonard Hill, thank you guys so much. Just want to say thank you, and one other person that's anonymous, but thank you guys. I really appreciate that. Thanks.
Corporal Ramsey's impression from his discussion with Austin Moore is that you can stop them.
You had probable cause to stop them. Well, I don't think that we didn't go into that part of it.
Okay.
But because I know Ramsey even questioned, the legality of just stopping somebody on a motorcycle with a gun strapped to their hip or whatever. But here's the thing: everybody assumes with Metro State that those are just pepper ball guns, but you don't know. That's the problem. And I can tell you that the citizens out there in Orange County don't know that that's a pepper ball gun when he's, pounding on the hood of their car and all this stuff. They just can't.
I guess what I'm getting to is that all these things that I've mentioned, calling the insurance companies, disseminating information to Mr. Dewitte's businesses. Sergeant Vidler, I know you said you didn't watch the body camera of the traffic stop, but he immediately or at least calls out to Jeremy as he's conducting the traffic stop. He's calling out to Jeremy. It almost some of these things give the impression that it's almost like a personal thing. Obviously, Sergeant Vidler and Jeremy Dewitte know each other from their interactions, and so it almost seems like it's personal. Would you agree with that?
I'll just put it this way: Keith Vidler's a pit bull, and when he gets onto something, he usually, he continues. And I think that's why Sandy Carpenter gave him this assignment when this all came up. And he's tenacious. But as far as the traffic stop, I don't think Keith Vidler would go out of his way to just go out of his way to do something with DeWitte unless he had what he believed were charges.
Okay. Do you know of any ill will between that Sergeant Vidler or Corporal Ramsey have towards
Not that I'm
Mr.
aware of.
DeWitte?
Hey guys, real quick, let's keep it a little clean. I don't like to talk about other creators negatively because I know how hard it is and difficult. So keep it clean.
So, to your knowledge, has there been? I know you kind of alluded to it or mentioned it, but what were the standing orders when it came? Other than for you to call the captain, were there any orders to not stop Metro State or to not interact with them, or what was the standing orders?
Metro State, when I was a cross trainer years and years ago, and I think Krantz was in the unit, Metro State was doing the same stuff. The unit had been told by Krantz at the time, and this is all hearsay and talk, leave them alone, let them be. Then, and I even had to ask Ramsey, I said, how did this get started with Metro State again? And he says that Sandy Carpenter got blocked by him and then brought it up and a few other things. And then Anzueto was new. They got talking and everybody seemed like, yeah, these guys are violating the law every day. Let's shut it down. And I think that was kind of the start of the whole thing. I think what really got it rolling was, I think it's Mahoney from Narcotics got mixed up in one of their funerals. And I don't know if you've watched the videos of their funerals.
Yep.
If you get in there, he'll beat on the hood of your car. He'll hold on to his gun, his pepper ball gun. And Mahoney called OPD. OPD got there, called Vidler because I knew he had dealing.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I mean, this has been kind of almost an hour and a half. So I didn't hear anything in there that really gave any personal information that I need to redact. If you guys heard something, please let me know. But I didn't hear anything in there that was crazy. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check out Friday International Operations and PoliceTube. PoliceTube's got a bunch of videos directly in the investigation of Michael Breen and John Mina and their relationship. PT, you're going to see that in your you're going to see that information sent to you. Okay, so you'll be able to see or hear. Sorry, you'll be able to hear what's going on. But all right, let's be cool. Anyways, I'll be sending this stuff over, and yeah, I'll be releasing all this information soon. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Love you guys. You know, until next time, probably this Friday after I go through more of these videos. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 that I haven't found yet. Doesn't mean they don't exist. So I'm going to get with PT and Fraudy to figure out which of these have been released and which ones have not been released. I'm pretty sure. I think the Michael Breen one's been released, but I'm not positive. But if anybody knows, it'll be those guys. So anyways, thank you guys so much for joining. Have a great day. Love you all. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you can. Donate to the fund. If not, no big deal. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.